it's Regan Yan from Digital Alchemy, and I'm here with Justin Theng again from SaaS.
Hi,
And today
guys.
we'll talk about how customer analytics empowers courtesy. And it's, this is not a topic that you would normally, associate with customer analytics, but I think it's an interesting one to explore.
Yeah, Regan, this idea of courtesy is proactive, isn't it? It's not always, it's very rarely reactive. I suppose that's a weird way of thinking about it, but we have spoken about this in the past, the difference between customer service, which is reactive, and customer experience, which is proactive. Let's go back to this story that you had of Italy, because I think that's a perfect example of how courtesy is proactive.
So, my story about, actually it's in France, but I was in provincial France, and I was in a butcher trying to get my sausages. And this little old lady walks into the butcher, and, as she opens the door and the bell rings and the butcher looks up, and he sees, this elderly lady walking through the door, and immediately starts to prepare some meat. And as soon as the old lady gets to the counter, he puts a package on the table, on the counter. She pays him, and then she leaves. And she barely, he says good morning, but there's almost no interaction. It's a sort of seamless, interaction. It's Tuesday. He knows what she's going to have on Tuesday,
and the courtesy is saving her time.
Right, and so we can create marketing, at scale to do exactly that. I mean, that's what the data tells us. I mean, all he was doing as she was walking through the door was processing her past purchases, working out, what day it was and what she was likely to want, and then preempting, her purchase and making that a seamless transaction.
That guy is that butcher is like the perfect algorithm for online shopping. The perfect analogy for online shopping, and it's algorithm by lifestyle, where the store knows what you're going to want before you want it. I mean, I would go so far as to say that there are giant e-commerce sites out there that get their inventory into the supply chain system about a day before you purchase something, knowing that you're about to purchase based on your behavior and what the machine learning has predicted. Is crazy stuff.
But what that does, all of this sort of analytics at the back end, creates this sense of relationship.
Yeah.
Right. That they do understand me, they do know me, and it bonds you to a brand in a way that that is beyond just emotional.
That's right. And you have to be able to get down to the nuts and bolts. For those of us listening that think, well, this is a bit fluffy, you want to take your historical data, be it offline database, on-premise type data, legacy systems, that kind of thing, loyalty programs, store purchases, and map it to your historical online behavior, match that to your current online behavior in all the various forms and user identities, be it email address, logins, IP addresses, all that kind of stuff. And then map possible marketing actions to it, measure and find insights like statistical significant, make decisions from that, and then boom, deliver impact proactively. That's what we should be doing. Somebody said, I think it was Mike Walsh, who's a futurist, if I can use the term, said that what 2020 taught us is that we're not actually very good at digital stores. We just have a version of our offline stores, but in a more broken fashion. And that's a deep topic, and we can get into lots of it. But have you seen any examples, Regan, besides e-commerce, where this kind of proactive courtesy is at play, maybe in some of your clients? Or
I think what we see is we see it at play in certain instances. So we have clients who use this sort of prediction in the IVR, for example.
IVR is
in the interactive voice system. So when you call up, so the system calls up. When you call up, the system knows who you are, and it configures the menu that you go through. So, you know, when you call up your bank and they say, you know, if you're looking for this, press this. If you're looking for this,
Yes.
press this. And, you know, you go through like 10 menus to get something you always want to do, right? So you can use the data to know that, you know, Justin's calling up. We just sent him this offer. So we can say, hey, Justin, if you're calling up about your monthly $10 off offer, you know, press 1.
Yeah. And you can also do sentiment analysis based on tone of voice and words used, can't you?
Oh, there's a really interesting Israeli company that did that, where they were collecting. They started out as a voice recording company,
Okay.
and then they started analyzing the data, and they were, you know, they were able to indicate whether a customer was angry. Whether the customer was angry or whether they're upset. And then the system would take that data and then prompt the CSR to make the customer a different offer because they were upset.
Yeah. At SAS, we obviously we have partners as amazing as yourself, and we have other kind of technology partners, and we do the same thing.
Right.
We do sentiment analysis for the banks. See how I did that? Boom, 3-pointer. SAS is going to like me now. Actually, speaking of 3-pointers, I want to tell you another story. The Orlando Magic, one of our customers, they've done it really well. What they've done is they put in this machine learning, not just on the app, but also in the venue, right?
Right.
And they know they're gathering certain behavioral data in the venue, like what you're going to eat, what you like to eat, where you sit, who's coming with you, how often you come, the kind of membership tier that you're in. And also the interesting thing is the machine learning found that if your favorite player was kind of like player of the game or did really, really well above a certain threshold, that you're going to be more likely to buy their jersey afterwards, because people want the jerseys of the person that was just the star, right? So what they've done is they're in-game tracking the score and how well each player is doing. And if your player does really well, it'll preemptively send you an offer for a jersey in the app. How crazy is that? So yeah, and that raised like not customer satisfaction, but fan satisfaction by like 20% in venue tech. Isn't that crazy?
I think the other thing that's interesting with that, right, is just how people's perception of the use of data has changed. So, you know, I remember 20 years ago when we were doing some of the stuff, there were things like that we weren't able to execute because people's perception was that would be too creepy, right?
Yeah. Well, but you and I have had a disagreement on this in the past, and we don't want to rehash the disagreement, but we were violently agreeing, I think, because where's the line between creepy and not creepy? If it's super convenient, do we just go, well, okay, fine, it is what it is? Like, when is it going to be okay for e-commerce stores to send us packages before we've ordered it?
Well, I think the time may well be coming, and if some of them are already starting to do it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, some of the clothing retailers in the US are using the data, send you products, and the ones that you don't want, you send back, right?
Yeah.
So it's beginning to happen, but I think what's really been interesting is this change in sentiment over, you know, it's gone from no, that's creepy to if you don't do that, what's wrong with you? So it's almost, you know, being able to make these real-time recommendations is becoming table stakes.
Yeah. I think timing is the difference between being creepy and not being creepy. And as another little kind of cringy thing, the word time is in the middle of the word sentiment.
Wow.
Timing, sentiment.
What's the difference between a cult and a religion?
Oh gosh, here we go. What?
Time.
Everything, I guess at some point, every kind of movement felt or looked like a cult, but that's a dangerous topic, Regan. We shouldn't talk about that. We could lose some 3-pointers. We could lose some points. Plus, we run out of time. What should they do? What should the listeners do, Regan, to find out more about this amazing stuff?
If you want to know more about analytics, and how we can use analytics to increase customer satisfaction and customer engagement, you should listen to more of our casts.
Yeah.
Failing that, you should contact us.
Actually talk to us.
Yeah, talk to us.
And we promise it'll be longer than 5 minutes.
Well, maybe.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Bye.
See you, Regan.